Hello, good evening. Welcome. This is Hot Edition. We're live from Yusab at Desawe Kanda, also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. My name is Alfred Ocansey. This evening, here on Hot Edition, government's significant expenditure cuts for ministries, departments and agencies as Finance Minister Dr. Akrofi Ocansey prepares to deliver a maiden budget and economic policy statement for the second term of President John Dramani Mahama. This evening, we explore areas likely to suffer cuts and how government can help spur economic growth in spite of the austerity. Also this evening, a new patriotic party suspends 34 Nangtong constituency executives over alleged misconduct. We have details for you here on Hot Edition. As always, we're live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond, and also on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. Remember, there's the latest in business and sport over the next 1 hour 30 minutes here on Hot Edition. Also, President John Mahama vows to relay Mali, Niger and Burkina Faso's concerns to ECOWAS amidst strained ties. We've got details for you here on Hot Edition, and we'll be hearing from some experts, and then also the Ghana United Traders Association GUTA ahead of the budget presentation tomorrow. So as you're an integral part of it, let's hear from you. You can connect with us on 3FM 927 on Facebook and across all social media platforms. My name is Alfred Ocansey. Welcome. Let's get into the details of the stories now here on Hot Edition. And government is targeting some significant expenditure cuts in the 2025 budget and economic policy statement to be presented by the Finance Minister Dr. Akrofi Ocansey. The move is amongst a raft of measures to be rolled out in the economic blueprint of the Mahama government as it begins its quest to reset the country's economy. The NDC administration is also aiming to tame inflation, return to external debt servicing, as well as invest in social and economic sectors to spur growth and put the economy on a better scale. During an engagement with the youth on X ahead of the budget statement tomorrow, the Minister of Finance hinted at key priorities, including a 33% boost to the school feeding program. That's from 1 cedi 50 pesos per child to 2 cedis per child daily. Now, an increase in funding for agriculture to enhance food security and agro-industry growth, that's number 2, and also some new investments in sports infrastructure and talent development, and on an inflation target of 8% plus or minus 2, a step we understand is going to be seen as a drop from current levels, amongst others. Now, that particular target is what has also generated some conversation we're going to be having shortly here on Hot Edition. Let's hear from the minister who had been assuring the audience on X that he will make financial allocations available to every item listed in tomorrow's budget. Take a listen to him.
This is the President Mahama's administration. It's not like the previous administration. And so if in the past budget was prepared, releases were made, and those releases were not actually paid by the Controller Accountant General, we should not assume that it is going to continue under President Mahama's administration. Budgeting has to be credible. If you prepare a budget, you should prepare a budget with the hope that you are going to execute the budget. If you prepare the budget with wrong assumptions, and if you don't end up by ensuring that what you have budgeted for, you implement it properly, then it becomes a problem. But on the issue of releases, expect a strong announcement in the budget. And that I can assure you. Expect that. And then I think the last question was the last question. I think it has to do with allocations, isn't it? And you made reference to the District Assembly Common Fund and all. Let's wait for the budget. We'll make some strong announcement as part of the budget.
Oh, so that's the Finance Minister, Dr. Kasiela Tuforsin, there. Dr. Forsin also confirmed sweeping expenditure cuts across ministries and a resumption of external debt repayments. I'll take a listen to him.
You'll be seeing some drop in primary expenditures because what we are seeking to do is to go through a very strong fiscal consolidation. You will see an increase in debt servicing because Ghana is resuming the payment of debt, because in the past 2 years, the government of Ghana was not servicing some debt, particularly the Eurobond debt servicing and all. But we have just resumed the servicing of those debts. And so you see an increase in the service obligation. If you adjust the servicing and look at primary expenditures, you see some significant reduction as compared to the outturn of 2024. That one, you should expect to see that. And I'll make it a point to announce the change in expenditure so that you will be satisfied and you'll be able to see that the government of Ghana has taken a bold step to reduce expenditure.
Oh, so that's Dr. Kasiela Tuforsin there. Let's go to a man who has been talking about expenditure cuts for as long as I can remember, and he's been consistent about it. I'm talking about none other than Professor Godfred Bobkin. He's a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, a respected financial analyst globally. He's joining us right now. Professor Bobkin, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, good evening, Alfred, and good evening to our cherished listeners.
It's always good to have you. I mean, hearing the finance minister talk about expenditure cuts, you have always been consistent that governance cost in this country is so high. So what are the specific areas that you expect the expenditure cuts that the finance minister talks about?
First of all, let me start off by congratulating the president and the government and also the Minister of Finance for embracing and responding to this call. We, as you rightly said, we have been at this for some time now. We didn't get positive response from the previous government, but I believe that the narrative is changing. If you judge from the manifestos of the two main political parties, they pledged considerable reform to our governance and reduce costs. The NPP in their manifesto promised they will govern with 50 ministers. The NDC promised they will govern with 60 ministers. So far, the president has kept to his word. I think we have like 4 or so deputy more to go. I think that is encouraging. Of course, from our estimation, it could have been better. We should be able to govern with less than 40, because the trend across the continent, even the continent now, is lean government. Others are governing with 24, 31, 41, and all of that. So I think that is very, very good. And you also see that the president has indicated, and the steps have been taken already in some instances, that he is not only reducing the size of government in terms of the number of ministers, he has also contracted the number of ministries and also promised to cut wasteful spending. He has demonstrated that with the 58th anniversary celebration and all of that modesty. Yeah, so I want to say that it's a very good start, and I'm sure we can do better going forward in shrinking governance costs, which are largely wasteful and counterproductive, so that we can begin to free up space. Because when we talk about fiscal space, it will not be conferred on us. It has to be created. So through wasteful expenditure cuts, expenditure rationalization, and appropriate administrative and government and compliance reforms within the traditional tax handles, we should be creating fiscal space gradually so that we can channel that to growth enhancing spending. So I'll start off by saying, yes, the president has done well. He has responded to that call. Now, what is it that we are expecting from the 2025 budget? I want to say that the expectation is very high, while one must also be moderate, reflecting reality, because it's the administration's first budget. And again, there is no legal, I'm not a lawyer, but my considered view is that there is no legal locus for party manifestos. So until the party manifesto or the promises in the manifesto begin to find their expression in the budget statement and economic policy, it can never be implemented. And so the 24-hour economy, the promise to move the economy from taxation to production, job for all and all of that, the idea that becomes the marking scheme in evaluating the government's 2025 budget. So to that extent, my expectation is that the government will stay the course on fiscal consolidation, which the previous administration started under the IMF-supported program. So the fiscal consolidation channel, essentially revenue enhancement, and then expenditure rationalization constitutes the bedrock of the fiscal consolidation. So if you take the revenue side, yes, we need to mobilize decent domestic resources, but the mode and the strategy we use must not undermine and impair household balance sheet and private sector competitiveness. So to that extent, I agree, and of course, not that is that significant. If you look at the December 2024 election results, you can see that a lot of Ghanaians, private sector, the youth, put a lot of premium on the NDC's manifesto, especially with respect to the economy. Because judging from the Afro Barometer by the CDD, the economy is a top priority for the voters. And therefore, the prescriptions in the NDC's manifesto should guide the 2025 budget. Here, so when it comes to the taxes, I'm expecting e-levy to go like yesterday. I can't wait to say goodbye to e-levy. It was poorly designed from conceptualization and was abuse of power under our democracy to impose e-levy on the people of Ghana, households and businesses. So that has to go. If you look at the fiscal losses, and here I don't want to even view the removal of these taxes as losses. This should be conceived as incentives that government is offering households and businesses to promote consumption and stimulate growth. So if we look at it from that perspective, we will not remember our pain by removing these taxes, but we'll be counting our blessing because it will stimulate consumption. There will be uptake in Momo transactions. Jobs will be created along that value chain. The Momo turnover would increase. The Momo operators will make more profit. They will be able to declare higher taxable income, and then we'll get a corporate tax from that perspective. You will also be using that to stimulate your digital economy, because the digital economy is expected to grow faster than the traditional economy. So it will sound backward for any government to impose e-levy when the main growth driver going forward is digital. And whether we like it or not, the future of finance, the future of economics, the future of business, the future of money, the future of currency is increasingly digital. And that is why it was strange that government introduced e-levy along that growth path. Okay, so that has to go. COVID-19 health levy has to go. E-levy brought just a little above 2 billion Ghana cedis in 2024. That is almost how much we allocated to the office of the president or for government machinery in 2024 from the 2023 Appropriation Act. So really, you realize that we can easily close that gap. So I'll come to the expenditure side. So if you look at all these taxes, if we move them, we are looking at something above 7 billion Ghana cedis. In fact, if we increase the efficiency along the VAT, and the VAT here, I'm expecting the Minister of Finance to merge the straight levies with the standard VAT rate so that the distortion in the VAT deployment will be corrected. Because that 6% that does not allow businesses to claim the input cost add directly to the high productive cost base of doing business. So we can use the tax regime to actually de-risk the private sector and repair their balance sheet. In fact, we can equally use the tax regime to de-risk the macro environment. When you make the tax regime friendly to businesses, friendly to taxpayers, and also as an incentive for attracting foreign capital and also building indigenous private capital. That is the way to go. That is how you build an economy with joy, not an economy that people would have to endure to go through. So they have to merge the straight levies with the standard VAT rate. My expectation is that when they merge the straight levies with the standard VAT rate, it should be pegged at 18% or below. It should not be more than 18%. Any rate increment above 18% is counterproductive and inequality worsening, right? Mm-hmm. And it will worsen our poverty dynamics, given that it's imposed on consumption. So that has to be done quickly, and I think this government will listen. Or before the budget, the president has indicated through the National Economic Forum, the Minister of Finance had made clear commitment and all of that, and therefore there's hope that this can be done. Then when you come, then from the revenue side, we should be looking at property tax. But more importantly, they should operationalize their gold board so that the smuggling within the gold sector, right, we can deal with that and rake in the much-needed fiscal revenue. Per our estimation, Ghana has been losing more than $2 billion annually through gold smuggling from artisanal small-scale miners and then put illegal mining together or under a broader concept of irresponsible mining, which is creating existential threat to all of us and destroying our water bodies. Now, look at what is happening. If you see the fourth quarter growth from the data the Ghana Statistical Service sent, you can see there's a contraction from gold production, which has affected overall GDP growth for 2024. Because if you look at the first 3 quarters growth from the Ghana Statistical Service data, you can see driven largely by gold production and the smuggling. My suspicion is that the call on the clampdown of irresponsible mining in the run-up to the 2024 election might have played a role in the slowdown and all of that. I think we should be looking at that because growth that is driven largely by the mining and quarrying sector is not job-rich. Okay, in the last, in fact, between 2013 and 2022, nearly 20% of our GDP growth has come from mining and quarrying. If you check the data, this has not come along with job creation. So largely jobless growth. We should be inspiring job-rich growth, which will be consistent with the NDC's manifesto of job for all, prosperity for all, and all of that. So we should be intentional about using the tax regime to promote growth from the labor-intensive subsectors of the economy. And here I will link that to the President's State of the Nation address when he also spoke about Akukon Kitinkiti. Here my focus is not on Akukon Kitinkiti. He spoke about agriculture for economic transformation. We should look at that entire value chain, link agriculture to agribusiness to agro-processing, and look at, under the 24-hour economy, look at the demand condition beyond Ghana and look at it under the African Continental Free Trade. Remember, Ghana has issued more certificates, AFCFTA certificates to businesses, much more than any other African country. But we haven't really exported much, even under the guided trade initiative. We were in a hurry to certify businesses and all of that, even under the Ghana guided trade initiative company that has been, but not much has been done. We should give real meaning to that sector. And here, let me say that we can't do everything at the same time, right? Right now, we should prioritize. under the AFCFTA, where do we have comparative advantage that we need to back that with the necessary competitive advantage? And I think when we look at the food value chain, because if you look at it within Africa, our net food import, actually in 2025, Africa's net food import would exceed $115 billion. Can you imagine? So assuming you are the Minister of Food and Agriculture, working together with Ministry of the Minister of Trade and Agribusiness and I think Industry, right? You want to say that we are making it a goal that annually we will reduce this deficit by 10%, right? 10% of 115 billion is more than 15 billion. It's more than $10 billion dollars. So can you imagine that from agriculture, non-traditional export, food value chain, you are raking in over $10 billion annually by reducing the African food deficit. That would actually be more than how much cocoa is bringing. It will be more than how much gold is bringing. In fact, actually, Alfred, you know something?
Tell me.
In Malaysia, this is what Malaysia did. Malaysia came to Ghana here and imported palm oil from Ghana here. And Malaysia has used the palm oil they took from Ghana here to transform their economy. In 2023, palm oil and the related products brought in much more than $18 billion to the Malaysian economy. Do you know that Ghana that gave Malaysia palm oil, Ghana imported palm oil to the tune of $153 million in 2023. When at independence, Ghana was known for palm oil, and Malaysia came to learn palm oil from Ghana. Today, Malaysia is raking in export revenue of more than, in fact, in 2024, it was actually more than $22 billion. Do you know something? That was actually more than the total export of Ghana in 2024. So one product and the related industry around it in Malaysia brought more foreign exchange than the entire export of Ghana from gold, cocoa, oil, and all of that. Building a nation is intentional, and it will not happen over a 4-year period. It's intentional, doing the right things consistently, backed by the necessary governance, structural reforms, productivity-enhancing reforms. This is what Malaysia has done, and today it looks almost absurd to compare Ghana to Malaysia. Meanwhile, 68 years ago, Ghana's GDP was slightly higher than Malaysia. So there is hope. If we want to develop this country, we can, and we should. The next generation should not regret.
Professor Bopping, I hear you mention, for instance, e-levy. You said should have been gone like yesterday. But then this administration made promises about not just abolishing the e-levy. They talk about the betting tax as well. Is it one that you would expect be also abolished, or government should take a second look at the betting tax?
Yeah, I think that, there's a political promise and then also the reality, right? If you look at the betting industry, the behavioral issues, I think government should take another look at the betting tax. For the other taxes like e-levy and COVID-19, I agree they must go. When it comes to emissions, nothing has been collected really, because the charging agent, DVLA, has not been configured as a proper charging agent. The equipment to measure the emission and all of that has not been properly installed and all of that. So there's nothing really to scrap from the emission side. But for the betting levy, that is my personal view, that the government should take another look. But if government says that it's a promise they have made and they would want to take that away, then we have to look at other ways of making sure that the betting is regulated properly without compromising, because it has negative effects and all of that. And therefore, you want to be able to ensure that this doesn't become counterproductive at the end of the day. So government should take another look at the regulation, either from tax perspective or other mechanisms that they will put in place. That's my view. But when it comes to e-levy and COVID-19 levy, it's not up for discussion. It has to be scrapped. They have to be scrapped.
But it's not going to be an easy road, is it? Because the finance minister concedes, and the reality is that as we start servicing our external debt, it is also going to impose some pressure on the cities, isn't it?
Alfred, I agree with you. Look at something. Alfred, in the last 25 years, which also include period that NDC had a chance to govern this country, we have been spending on the average 3.5% of our GDP on tax exemptions. Hello?
Right here.
If you take 3.5% of our GDP, that is actually more than how much we lose by scrapping these taxes. And these are actually exemptions that are not properly administered. We call them tax expenditures. So, Alfred, instead of looking at the removal of these taxes as losses or challenges, let's look at them as incentives to promote consumption and stimulate growth. Why am I calling them incentives? If you take e-levy, you will be amazed that in the next 6 months, if government will abolish e-levy, in the next 6 months, you will see that Momo uptake may go up more than 20%. Hello, you get a point?
Absolutely.
So you know what that means? You will be promoting financial inclusion. The Momo operators will be making more profit, and they will also pay more taxes. And you are also stimulating consumption. You are promoting growth and all of that. So these are like incentives you write to businesses and households to stimulate consumption, to build confidence in your economy, and you will reap the benefits. Look, what are we talking about here? In early part of 2025, Alfred, if you recall, there was a stand-up in Parliament simply because of exemptions of about $350 million. Do you remember?
Yes.
That is actually almost 70% of the losses we are talking about here. Okay, so they can actually look at exemptions, and through that they can close this gap. These exemptions sometimes are not properly administered, and it doesn't generate the much needed growth, and its benefit is not broad-based. So if you take away e-levy, for instance, and you strengthen your digital economy and grow the digital economy, that is far better, and you actually end up making more money, right, in the pockets of households and businesses, and more taxes will come going forward. That is how you build an economy. You cannot tax your way out of poverty. You first grow businesses. Taxation, Alfred, taxation is not just an instrument to collect revenue. Taxation is also an instrument to promote consumption and stimulate growth. If we look at taxation as a hammer, then we'll treat everything around as a nail. But taxation is not a hammer. It's an instrument to promote, an instrument to collect revenue. So that is how we look at it. And I think that, look, let me tell you something. Alfred, from the 2023 Appropriation Act, do you know the budgetary allocation to the Office of the President in 2024? It was a little above 2 billion Ghana cedis. Does that make sense to you?
Certainly not. Certainly not.
So look, if the President Akufo-Addo presided over a staff strength of over 1,000 at Jubilee House. Tell me, what have they been doing? What is the productivity from that? And I know that, and I'm sure, I won't say I know, I am sure our current president will reduce that by more than 50%. So if we reduce the budgetary allocation to the Office of the President by more than 50%, we are saving more than 1 billion Ghana cedis. Can you imagine? Look, the interest rate as a result of the confidence that has come, or let's call that one the honeymoon effect of the regime change, interest rate has come down slightly. The Minister of Finance has also taken a keen interest in the auction arrangement and how much they should accept and all of that. All of that has contributed to the interest rate falling. Of course, we need to look at its implication for the stability of the currency, of course. But the Minister of Finance told us that the slight fall in the interest rate alone has saved this country over 1 billion Ghana cedis. So you see what confidence can do for your economy. Confidence. So you can actually take off and then expenditure cuts. Look, we have contracted a number of ministries. The president is governing with average 120 something that President Akufo-Addo used. All of that, let's cost them. Let's look at how, Operation Recover or something, ORA. Government must prioritize recovery of looted funds. And let's include that in the budget. There should be breathing space for the average Ghanaian. It is not a sin that we were born as Ghanaians. We have not committed any sin. Is it a crime if the Ghanaian should have some respite and save some breathing space? Is it inconceivable? Look, let me tell you something. It is not only government that must be okay in this government, in this country. It is not. All of us must be okay. COVID did not affect only the government. COVID affected households and businesses. It should not be only government that must recover from it. So we must look at how we recover from COVID-19 without disproportionately shifting the burden of the adjustment to household and businesses. Look at businesses today. Look, tell me, Alfred, do you know something?
Well,
tell me, pick the critical sectors of this economy. Tell me, what is Ghanaian about the banking sector? What is Ghanaian about the mining sector? Ghanaians are virtually missing in all the critical aspects of this economy. What are indigenous businesses? Where are they? You can never build an economy without a powerful indigenous private sector. Pick mining. Indigenous businesses are missing. Pick the banking industry. Pick 23 serious banks in Ghana. How many indigenous banks are in the top 5 or the top 10? Pick retail, wholesale, malls. Look, this economy, we must be intentional. Let me tell you, I think sometimes we need like 1 month of Donald Trump. We need that. So that is the point that I'm trying to make. Look, we have used taxes to kill our businesses. Some are even running away to Cote d'Ivoire and all of that. Please, why should we be doing that? If you buy something from the U.S., a land of affluence, sales tax, probably 7.5% or 8%. If you come to Ghana here and buy something equivalent from a vetted shop, you are looking at 21.9%. You pay corporate tax of, let's say, 25%. You go and buy something from the shop, 21.9% is also gone. You go and buy fuel, the taxes in the price build-up is more than 40%. Everywhere you go is taxes. You sleep, you are paying tax. You wake up, you are paying tax. When can we build wealth? In a serious country where the government is efficient, if government collects that much taxes, chances are that water will be free, electricity will be free, education will be free. The Scandinavian countries are paying taxes effectively around 57%, and the rest of them. You can check Finland, Sweden, and the rest of them. But you see, they pay that high, but public service delivery is efficient. Water, electricity, education free, and all of that. But in Ghana, government is collecting all of these things from just a few, and service delivery is poor. You can't confidently take your child to secondary school and sleep, because out-of-pocket expenditure runs into thousands of cedis. You can't drink water from the tap. You have to pray before, during, and after. Even that one from there, you have to go and see a doctor. Why? What crime have we committed?
And the reality check that you've taken us through over the period is what many who are listening right now can relate to, because that's what is our daily experiences. And one man who's been on the other line listening to you quietly and carefully is Imoro Abbas, who's Industrial Relations Officer for the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, and given government's plan to simultaneously scrap the taxes, reduce expenditure, invest in growth. How feasible is this strategy in the short to medium term? Those are the fundamental questions. And also for the GPRTU, specific expectations about transport fares increment and so on, and other measures put in place to reduce the cost of doing business in that particular area, for instance, spare parts and so on. And this is why I bring in Alhaji Imoro Abbas. Good evening. Thank you for joining us, Alhaji. And you've been listening to Professor Godfrey Bobkin taking us through the real state of the economy and what Ghanaians have been experiencing over time, and the specific expectations that he has of the finance minister for the budget tomorrow. From your sector, what are your expectations tomorrow?
Good evening, and thank you, Ocansey. You remember what he means between me and you?
Indeed.
Well, our expectations are not many. We know the conditions in which we are currently, and we'll just zero it around one area, that is something like sanitation and pollution levy on the fuel. You know, that is even illegal immigrants among the taxes and levies surrounding the fuel. It shouldn't even have been there at all. We expect that the sanitation pollution levy will be a thing of the past. We look at the special petroleum tax. We look at the price stabilization. Some of the fuel taxes which has overstayed its usefulness on the fuel. If this, or some of these taxes are being removed from the fuel, it will automatically reduce the fuel prices for us, whereby it will also compel us to maintain the current lorry fares for some time, because currently we are in the threshold of coming up with upward adjustment on lorry fares. But we just felt the timing is too early for the new government, so we are just marking time. We are expecting that some of these taxes and levies shall be taken off to automatically give the professional driver a breathing space. By that is the way we also get the little increment on our salaries. But if none of this could be done, then of course we have no choice than to rally ourselves behind and come up with an upward adjustment on lorry fares. That is the only thing that we can do, so that we also adjust ourselves to live happily with our other working counterparts.
I'm sure prior to this moment, you had been asking for an increase in transport fares already, and you were only waiting for the transport minister to take office, and then you're going to start some negotiation. How far with that?
We went there, but we never discussed business. We went and welcomed him to his new office. In fact, the day we agreed to meet, or the day we met, that was his second day in office. So we decided that it wouldn't be nice for us to, pressurize him on something. We thought he wasn't properly briefed about his business. So we never discussed business. But we told him that, yes, we've come to welcome you into your new office. We are going to come back, of which we never went back before tomorrow's budget. So I would say we have ample time, we are welcome, but because the budget is going to be read tomorrow, at least these are our expectations.
I see. Now, what are the, and for the spare parts, because you talk about fuel prices as well, for the spare parts, it still comes back to the strength of the city, because then you're importing at a very high rate to the dollar. And you have no choice than to buy it as well at a very high rate. What are the specific interventions that you expect this budget to announce to address this challenge that public transport owners are faced with?
Mr. Ocansey, whenever we want to come up with any upward adjustment lorry fares, we look at all components that we use, including spare parts, even lubricants as well, and even documentation. We look at all these things and factor into consideration. So each time we are ready, we don't want to put pressure on anybody. Maybe the fuel price could go down. That will lead us to how we should go about our issues. But if no, and we are to come up with any upward adjustment, of course, we'll consider spare parts, lubricants, any other components that we use in running transport. We'll have to look at that also.
See, and I appreciate your time, Elijah Basimaro. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for calling.
And that's the head of industrial relations for the GPRTU. And Professor Bobkin, maybe in a minute, I mean, the expectations that they have, and this is an important component in understanding the ordinary Ghanaians' economic situation, is it not? So public transport owners or operators, they say, well, we want measures to be put in place so that we will not increase transport fares. How can this be done or be made for them not to go on that path?
If you look at the automatic price adjustment mechanism, in fact, actually from November 2024, you can see that the currency has been a bit stable. And therefore, once we are able to maintain stable exchange rates, then the pass-through in terms of world oil price, and then also in terms of exchange rates variation should not be that significant. But I agree. In fact, if you look at our food inflation, and you look at the role that transportation costs plays, frictions, poor roads, and all of that, you can see that by the time you move the produce from the farmland to the market centers, the price has more than like double or twice that the farm gate price and all of that. So I think that as you can see that it's not easy taking over the reins of government at this time, but the president has indicated that he will fix it. And I think that what will be important, and especially from the first budget, is that they must use the first budget to consolidate the confidence that Ghanaians and investors have reposed in the new government, which is also showing in the oversubscription in the treasury bill market, right? 91-day, 182-day, and 364-day bill, and all of that. So. And that is why I'm saying that, yes, it may be painful for government because they have to remove certain taxes, because all of that will help in consolidating confidence. Sometimes there are those who say, oh, keep those taxes and all of that, but that will take a lot away from the credibility that the president wants to carry across, that, yes, we've made these promises, it will have fiscal implications, but for purposes that these promises were not just politically motivated. These are not political promises. This is something even the MPP that spent the last 4 years to impose these taxes on Ghanaians was asking for another 4 years to remove these same taxes. Can you imagine? And all of that. They were willing to eat a humble pie and all of that. So we need to de-risk the macro environment using the tax regime, and we need to move the economy from taxation to production, because you can't create jobs through taxation. You can't create jobs and all of that. And I think that, look, Alfred, how many countries in Africa here have e-levy? Can you tell me how many? Hello?
Yes, sir. Prof, in fact, I did the scanning. The only country that has something close to that, not even in the margin that we're looking at now, is South Africa. But you cannot say that the margin is lower. I mean, I want to say. But so
there are other countries that introduced them, but they removed them after just a short period of time.
Yes, that is Kenya
and all of that. And then also, Alfred, if you look at VAT across the continent, if you add the state levies to the standard VAT rate of 15%, Ghana's VAT becomes the highest, almost the highest in the whole of Africa. Alfred, how can you build a nation that way? You can't. And even when we have added all these taxes, our tax buoyancy hasn't changed that much. So really, and then also, look, considerable wasteful expenditure cut that can be done. The president has shown the way, contracting the number of ministries, reducing the number of ministers. That it should not end there. when it comes to travel, so many areas. Look, you know that President Mahama during the campaign told us that every cabinet retreat, I'm sure he was talking about his time, they were spending almost 5 million Ghana cedis per every cabinet retreat. Cabinet is made up of how many people? 21 people. Is that not so? 19 cabinet ministers, the president and the vice.
Yes.
And okay, so the president has been there before, and he knows where they can cut wasteful spending. So when they were making these promises and all of that, look, and then also you look at state-owned enterprises that are not serving the common interest by political interest and personal interest. You want to make sure that you streamline governance along all those lines. And then when it comes to procurement, look, Alfred, do you know that sometimes items that have been procured through even competitive tendering, you may find out that the price is even 3 times higher than if you had gone to the open market. Do you know that? We use the same procurement system to inflate the price.
And procurement corruption is one that I recall during the dialogue, even the president made reference to something of a sort. But we have a public procurement authority. We have a procurement law. And
sometimes the application of the law is to just codify our corruption in a nice way. If you go to some public institutions and they procure a TV and you check the price eventually that they give you, and you go to the shop, the same quality, you see that the price is 3 times what the procurement system has rather delivered. How can we codify corruption like that? How are we able to live with that? Okay, so I think that, look, the good thing is that it was good President Mahama lost the 2016 election. He's had 4 years to reflect and all of that. So his second coming, he will know where the loopholes are, where the wastefulness are. And when he says he can close them, I believe him. He indicated that any procurement above a certain level, a committee will have to check for the higher value for money. In fact, the Minister of Finance told us through the National Economic Dialogue that we must get the highest value from every cedi that we spend. This is how nations develop. How do you get more from less? This is how countries have made. That is why U.S., with a land of affluence, they are cutting down on wastefulness.
Yes.
Even U.S. cares about efficiency. U.S. cares about wasteful spending. How much more Ghana? That has to rely on aid to feed people and sustain people on dialysis and the rest of them. So we can't afford that. Look, the waste. If you pick a minister, a CEO of a company, travels here and there, conference, all of that, across ministries, GRA, you go to a Royal City, there's one workshop there. You come to Mensvik Hotel, another one there. You come here. At the end of the day, we spend the money on just working capital, nothing really for development. This is not rocket science.
Indeed. Prof, I appreciate your thoughts on this. I really do appreciate it.
Let's give the president the benefit of the doubt. He's an experienced man, and he knows what he's talking about. So we look forward to the 2025 budget. Thank you.
I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Professor Godfred Bobkin is a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana, a business school, and also a financial analyst and an economist as well, joining us with his thoughts on this. Let's just stay a bit further with the budget, because organized labor is saying government budget should focus on providing incentives to farmers to boost agriculture. Labor is also of the view the budget should indicate how to mobilize domestic resources to support growth of the economy. They spoke with our Labor Affairs correspondent Daniel Opoku ahead of the budget presentation tomorrow. Ahead of that, the Deputy General Secretary of the TUC again said the budget should indicate how resources will be mobilized domestically.
The TUC expect this budget to be a reset budget. That the TUC expect this budget to be a budget that reset the framework for economic management in this country. And over the last 40 years, we have seen a certain framework that hasn't helped us. That framework has focused on merely growing the economy, on a single-digit inflation, on some mundane indicators. We want this budget to change that framework. Yes, we need to address the questions of inflation, but we also need to address one of the most pressing problems facing young people in this country, which is unemployment. Right. So we want this budget to at least set a target for employment data, so that going forward, the country, the government will be addressing the most pressing concerns of Ghanaians. But we also want this budget to address the social needs of the country. And one of those areas is food security, that we should invest a lot more in agriculture and to understand where the Ghanaian, the workers of this country, will not have to spend 45% or more of their incomes on food. So we need to invest more in agriculture. There's no way this country will have to spend over $2 billion importing food when we have arable lands, we have good rainfall pattern, when we have a teeming number of young people looking for employment. So this budget must reset the country. But crucially also, we don't want a situation where this budget will be one of the usual budget where every development project that we announce in a budget is based on loans we have taken or we are about to take.
Well, that's the TUC there, but the General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, Thomas Musa Tanko, also asked the Finance Minister to ensure that the incentives are made available for farmers. He again said the budget should indicate funding source for the free senior high school policy and the 20% deprived area allowance for teachers.
The only right that the law adds paramount is the right of the child. Right. And so we are expecting that His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, will demonstrate this thing in the budget to show that he is committed in ensuring three things. Number one, not only access, but quality and efficient management of education in Ghana. And these three things, you need money to get it done. You need, as for access, we have done well. On the quality aspect, we need money, resources to get it done, and also management, so that from the enterprise level to the CISOs level, to the district and to the regional up to the national levels, the people in whose hands have the who are entitled, who are expected to go around to ensure that teaching and learning take place in our schools, they will get them done. The second thing we want to hear is the arrangement to ensure that teachers are well resourced, and not only well resourced, but the issue of the 20% and the condition of service as enshrined in the manifesto will see the day of light in the budget. A definite pronouncement in the budget regarding the collapse or the stoppage of Galamsey thing. We are expecting that thing to be done. Whatever His Excellency cannot forget that the past government put, and His Excellency, the past president, even put his presidency on the line. So that should even let our president, current president, to appreciate that the Galamsey fight is not going to be easy. But he made a promise that he will take the bull by the horn. So whatever you can do to make sure that the youth get work to do, let us get it done.
That's Thomas Musa Tanko there. There's going to be more in terms of the expectations from Ghanaians who will be at the University of Ghana, Legon campus, right after the business news. Bismarck Kewusa is standing by with the latest in the world of business. Stay with us here on Hot Edition.
It's the battle of the teams in a 3FM 60-day Fit Start Challenge. Which team will come up tops? Will it be Team Comfort or Team Helen? Will age and tact triumph? Or will youth and energy win? Call or WhatsApp on these numbers: 0532 300 927 or 0532 200 927. Now, to join Team Comfort or Team Helen and enjoy holistic wellness coaching, specialized diet plans, and cooking tutorials, thrilling exercises, challenges, and activities, plus many exciting rewards. 3FM Fit Start, sponsored by Daffy's Health and Beauty, Bill's Microfinance and Usual Premier, and supported by Blue Skies and the Ghana Medical Association. 3FM Fit Start, your health, your journey, your victory.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition. Coming up tonight, uncertainty looms as High Court sets aside Bank of Ghana's revocation of idle finance license. Could this trigger a wave of lawsuits against the Apex Bank? We will find out. This is the business segment on Hot Edition with me, Bismarck Ausa. To start with, the High Court has ruled against the Bank of Ghana's revocation of Idle Finance Limited's operating license, citing procedural failures by the central bank. The decision effectively restores the legal standing of the defunct financial institution until the Apex Bank legally challenges the ruling. There are fears this could set a legal precedent for other collapsed financial institutions to challenge the central bank's actions. The Human Rights Division of the High Court has set aside the Bank of Ghana's decision to revoke the operating license of Idle Finance Limited. In a ruling delivered on Monday, March 10, the court found that the central bank failed to follow the proper procedures required for revoking the company's license. Idle Finance was among several financial institutions affected by the Bank of Ghana's financial sector cleanup, with the regulator citing insolvency and weak governance structures. However, the court ruled that the revocation was unjustified, dealing a blow to the central bank's actions during the sector-wide reforms. It remains unclear how this ruling will impact the broader financial sector cleanup. The Bank of Ghana is yet to respond to the court's decision. Meanwhile, legal analysts suggest the decision could open the door for other defunct financial institutions to challenge the Bank of Ghana's actions, potentially triggering a wave of lawsuits. And that was a 3 Business News Desk report on a High Court setting aside Bank of Ghana's revocation of Idle Finance license. Moving on, the head of finance at UMB Capital, Nelson Kujo Kwagbeji, has urged government to roll out plans that will widen the country's tax base rather than deepening it. Ahead of the 2025 budget presentation, which is set to be presented by the finance minister tomorrow, he called for pragmatic measures to rope in the 70 to 80% informal economic operators into the tax net.
Government over the years have not been able to mobilize enough domestic revenue to finance the annual budget. And so government must put in place pragmatic measures that will enable them to raise the needed revenue. Some few days ago, the new Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, made mention of the fact that they intend to raise 200 billion Ghana cedis in revenue for the 2025 fiscal year. But the question that we need to ask ourselves is what measures are they going to put in place in order to raise the 200 billion Ghana cedis worth of revenue to finance the budget? I think one of the expectations of Ghanaians is that the GRA or the Ministry of Finance must put in place workable and pragmatic measures in order to reduce the leakages in tax revenue mobilization. We have realized over the years that most taxpayers have not been compliant with GRA regulations and tax laws, and so there is so much leakages as far as revenue mobilization is concerned. So I expect the government, or the expectation is that the government will try as much as possible to close some of the leakages in tax revenue. And then also we expect the government to rake in the informal sector. Statistics shows that about 70 to 80% of Ghana's economy is predominantly in the informal sector.
And that was Head of Finance at UMB Capital, Nelson Kujo Kwagbeji. The Ghana Enterprises Agency is urging the government and policymakers to enhance the ease of doing business for women. According to Chief Executive of the agency, Margaret Ansay, creating a more supportive business environment is crucial for empowering female entrepreneurs and increasing the number of women-led businesses in Ghana. She spoke on the sidelines of her Outfit's 2025 International Women's Day celebration.
We are here to speak to our policymakers to make women entrepreneurs getting the policies that will facilitate how to get their certification. The laws should be very friendly for them to thrive with their businesses, both locally and internationally. We are here to build MSMEs, the micro, the small, the medium enterprises. We need the support of our founding members, our financial supporters, our policy makers to make this happen. We say if a woman is economically empowered, homes are comfortable, our children are comfortable, the community flourish, and everybody is happy, especially at home with our children, our husbands, and our family members. So today we are just telling everybody, let's make women businesses grow.
And that was Chief Executive of the Ghana Enterprises Agency, Margaret Ansay, ending the business segment on Hot Edition with me, Bismarck Ausa. For more business stories, please log on to 3news.com. Thanks for your company. Oreo Kwampofu is next with Sports. Do stay.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Let's head straight into the stories where the Ghana Premier League resumed after nearly a month-long break following the tragic incident at Nswatriman where a Kotoko fan, Nana Pole, lost his life. 8 matches were played across various venues this weekend, with Hearts of Oak securing a 2-0 victory over Young Apostles at the University of Ghana Stadium. Despite his team sitting third on the table with 36 points, just 1 point behind league leaders Asante Kotoko, Hearts of Oak head coach Abubakar Ouattara has downplayed his team's title chances.
Now, do you still believe you're going to win the Ghana Premier League 2024-2025 season?
I can give you this reply on the 8th June. Let's just talk on the 8th June.
And so that was Ouattara there cheekily responding to aspirations of the Phobians trying to win the league title. But after the match, Hearts of Oak were charged for allowing unaccredited individuals into the safe zone. Meanwhile, some fans shared their thoughts on the new security measures implemented at the stadiums across. Or try and get you that voice on the fans. Yeah, I think we have it now.
I think that's all that we need. The unfortunate incident happened in another venue. So, of course, if we are putting security in place, we are not exempted. We should be part of the security arrangement. And that's why we have the security measures.
But we pray that for this one, it will awaken everybody that we will pray that such incidents will not happen again with the majority of security men, as you said, that come to stadium to protect us. We pray that it will not happen again. All right. Yeah.
Well, we hope it doesn't repeat itself. We are all glad the league is back. But you saw the police officers watching the game. So
So what exactly are they in the stadium to do? Because I'm not sure they were brought in to come and watch the football with the spectators. They were brought in to make sure that, they will stay within the fans. I think that gradually it should be something we should try and keep.
And that's security. Then security for one security two Omi bibia kama njama oba stadium kra na say no wa uti fie bia bra stadium oba stadium kra ya kono keke any police for ni dia akro any bia mo secure bia omo kra na say search is omo hwehwe ni mo mpa security ni there in fact me amani age ho pa.
Those were some fans sharing their thoughts after the resumption of the Ghana Premier League, specifically on how secure they felt given what had happened just a few weeks ago. But we still stay with the Ghana Premier League because Asante Kotoko, they also marked a strong return to the league with a 2-0 victory over struggling Legon cities. Goals from Patrick Esiedu and Kwame Poku propelled the Porcupine Warriors back to the top of the table with 37 points. Head coach Prosper Nateogum insists that Kotoko must remain measured in their approach as they push for the league title.
Preparing the team, I think we have to try and intensify our training. Try to, now they are rusty. And then when players are coming back, especially with this emotional pain, you don't take them there. It's a progressive, training regimen. Whether we are playing here or whether we are playing in Kumasi or we are playing away, every game comes with its dynamics. So to me, as a coach, I'll say that we need to take it game by game. Once we are able to do that, then we can be ready for the title. So you can't win a title without taking the games game by game.
Well, we'll still stay in Kumasi because the club licensing board raised security concerns at the Babayara Sports Stadium ahead of the league's resumption, with the safe zone being marked as the primary issue. Our reporter on the ground, Richard Echampon, who specifically covers Asante Kotoko, was at the venue and brings us the latest update.
And at the Babayara Sports Stadium, which was one of the venues not approved by the Ghana Football Association for the Ghana Premier League games, new measures were put in place to ensure that a safe zone was humanly created. So there's a new parking place for the team buses as well as a lot of security presence.
And so that was Richard Echampon there speaking on the state of the Babayara Sports Stadium. But away from the football itself, where new safety protocols prohibited vendors from hawking in the stadium stands, a rule that was strictly enforced at the Babayara Sports Stadium over the weekend. However, several vendors voiced their dissatisfaction with the new arrangement.
Sioba, obi wana na ne ya want me see from mama tonsuo eti nsuo de madaro ma yesre mala mama yanton mama bibia nkode ya nsuo de ye mama fo na ma chirechire first so antisa ya nyina ya twade we inside ye chi san ya bayi fofo je se ba mo to kwa se mi so san no mo de awuram to madaro ma mo mo aye am to take 20 series o si go to mama ngoton denti mama ngoton pacho we go yes company dia na we am Tony di oda se I didn't go to metro take the mama ngoton o se na dina se mi ko fe we scaven go to yani ye do appreciate for say bunjina o nso bia enrem o to so no wabie na wanom we de tete do kra na see yo ye dem se bi be si biem kra
say o mo say ya mayenton eniema emfa nwuram because of omo de ade na no mo to park no so nsuo no mo to park nsuo kra na omo to nsuo na this will be so answer now they are inside. Bibi san na say nko ne ye meeting. Omo ne ye meeting bi eno an say yaba asan ko.
Let's move away from the Ghana Premier League to Europe, where match day 28 of the English Premier League wraps up on Monday night at the London Stadium as West Ham United welcome Newcastle. Ahead of the clash, Newcastle head coach Eddie Howe is optimistic that despite key players being ruled out through suspension and injuries, he still boasts sufficient depth in his squad to tackle the London-based outfit. The Magpies will take to the pitch without Anthony Gordon, Steve Botman and Louise Hall.
It's not been the best of weeks, is it? I think it's been one of those weeks that challenges you in the job that I'm in. But I think you always need a level head. You need clear thinking. And you need to put it always into perspective. We still have a very strong squad. We still have a very strong team. We're going to miss the players that we're going to lose, and that's a big disappointment. But it's always someone else's opportunity, and we have to look at it that way. And those players I know will be supporting us and hoping.
Before we go, just updates by way of tennis, where Novak Djokovic was shocked by Botic van de Zandschulp 6-2, 3-6, 6-1 in the second round of Indian Wells, as the Serbian suffered an early exit at the hands of a lucky loser for a second consecutive year. Djokovic fell to lucky loser Luca Nardi of Italy in the California desert last year, and history repeated itself a day after top seed Alexander Zverev also went out of the competition. For more sports stories and updates, you can follow us on social media at 3SportsGH. My name is Ori Kwampofo, and that's how we wrap up the sports segment here on Hot Edition.
It's time to Gobelize. Gobe Nation and Gobe Eaters Association, it's time to assemble. Get ready for Ghana's ultimate beans-based food festival, 3FM Gobe Festival 2025. This year on the 22nd of March at Lagos City Mall, we're on a mission to celebrate all things beans from your favorite vendors. Come and immerse yourself in an electrifying atmosphere filled with great food, refreshing drinks, live band music, fun games, jama sessions, crown our king and queen of Gobe, and find out who wins Gobeathon amongst many activities. 3FM Gobe Festival on the 22nd of March at Legon City Mall from 10 a.m. If you're an interested vendor or sponsor, please call 0531 100 927 or 0532 200 927 right now. Let's get Gobelicious on the 22nd of March and make history at 3FM's Gobe Festival at Legon City Mall. It's absolutely free. 3FM Gobe Festival 2025, celebrating culture, love, and unity through Gobe. Powered by 3FM 92.7, your urban lifestyle radio. Proudly sponsored by Origin.
It's the battle of the teams in a 3FM 60-day Fit Start Challenge. Which team will come up tops? Will it be Team Comfort or Team Helen? Will age and tact act triumph? Or will youth and energy win? Call or WhatsApp on these numbers: 0532 300 927 or 0532 200 927. Now, to join Team Comfort or Team Helen and enjoy holistic wellness coaching, specialized diet plans, and cooking tutorials, thrilling exercises, challenges, and activities, plus many exciting rewards. 3FM Fit Start, sponsored by Daffy's Health and Beauty, Bill's Microfinance and UGL Premier, and supported by Blue Skies and the Ghana Medical Association. 3FM Fit Start, your health, your journey, your victory.
Welcome back. This is Hot Edition. We're live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond, and also on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. Let's get into some more stories here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. With the 2025 budget set to be unveiled tomorrow by the Finance Minister, Dr. Kasil Atoforsen. Now, the young Ghanaians, especially students and job seekers, are hoping for policies that go beyond promises, from job creation to free first-year university academic fees. And the 24-hour economy, expectations are high. But will the budget truly deliver? We spoke to some students at the University of Ghana, Legon campus, earlier today. I'll bring that to you shortly here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesme 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond, and we're going to go shortly to the University of Ghana, Legon, as we have some of the students sharing their thoughts and views, comments and opinions with us on the budget expectations shortly, and to get us some more details on it, and also some reactions and expectations to the budget presentation here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. And Noble Crosby Annan is a man on the ground, and he's been speaking to some of the students ahead of the budget presentation at the Finance Minister tomorrow. Apologize for that technical hitch. We're going to go for this quick break. When we're back, we'll get into some more stories here on Hot Edition. Stay with us.
Ghana, it's time to globalize. Gobe Nation and Gobe Eaters Association, it's time to assemble. Get ready for Ghana's ultimate beans-based food festival, 3FM Gobe Festival 2025. This year on the 22nd of March at Lagos City Mall, we're on a mission to celebrate all things beans from your favorite vendors. Come and immerse yourself in an electrifying atmosphere filled with great food, refreshing drinks, live band music, fun games, jama sessions, crown our king and queen of Gobe, and find out who wins Gobeathon amongst many activities. 3FM Gobe Festival on the 22nd of March at Lagos City Mall from 10 a.m. If you're an interested vendor or sponsor, please call 0531 100 927 or 0532 200 927 right now. Let's get Gobelicious on the 22nd of March and make history at 3FM's Gobe Festival at Lagos City Mall. It's absolutely free. 3FM Gobe Festival 2025, celebrating culture, love, and unity through Gobe. Powered by 3FM 92.7, your urban lifestyle radio. Proudly sponsored by Origin.
Welcome back to Hot Edition. Let's go back to the University of Ghana campus, where some of the students have been sharing their expectations with us ahead of the budget presentation tomorrow.
The bread and butter issues, the thing that affect us daily and our lives, and what we are looking at and expecting that the budget will tackle. I mean, we can look at the other excesses in government and whatnot, cutting the expenditure and whatnot, but if they don't reflect in your pocket, exactly in my pocket, like we say, I mean, it will basically be nothing to me, but I must be able to feel it, know that things are going on well.
My expectations, especially with regards to the COVID levy, I would be very happy if the COVID levy should be taken out and being replaced with a free SHS levy in order for us to be able to cushion and sustain and maintain the free SHS policy. Because we are of the belief that the free SHS doesn't have a static source of income. And secondly, I will be very glad if there is a talk about the implementation of the 24-hour economy, because the most important thing of students is right after graduation, there are jobs. We don't want to be in a situation whereby we are going to form an unemployed graduate association.
I'm expecting that the budget will see into it that the free SHS policy, because according to this incumbent government, they want to review it. And in reviewing it and making it effective and efficient, funds are needed to do that. So I'm expecting that the free SHS policy will be captured in the budget reading. So I'm looking out for employment too. Economic growth, how we can subsidize or boost our local industries to ensure economic growth, the dollar and the CD ratio too.
And they promised out all the goodies before they came into government, so we are not expecting them to come and tell us stories.
Another sector like the mineral sector or the mining industry, for instance, with an establishment like Gold Board, I think it's going to also provide some sort of income revenue generation for the government. And also, if we are able to focus and properly invest in the tourism industry, we are going to get a lot of money from there that we might
need extra taxes or more taxes, I think.
I believe the government has to do away with a lot of taxes. I am of high conviction that the COVID levy tax should be taken out and be replaced with free SHS tax.
I'm looking at the current taxes being remained, because had they had the intention to remove it or something, they would have done that a very long time ago.
They mentioned that COVID tax, for instance, would go, the Burton tax would go, but you think they should remain?
I think they should remain, but then there should be changes.
Also, some University of Ghana students also sharing their thoughts with Noble Crosby Annan there. Now, Ghana has expressed interest in opening its aviation space for a direct flight to Burkina Faso at least once a day. The sentiment was also expressed on Monday when President John Mahama held bilateral discussions with his Burkinabe counterpart, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Ghana has equally expressed its desire to mutually cooperate with Burkina Faso in its agriculture drive that will boost its GDP.
African tradition, we know that if your brother does you a favor, the next morning you have to come and say thank you. We had elections last year in Ghana, and I was elected the president, and I sent an invitation to my brother to come and attend my investiture. And he left everything he was doing and came to the investiture. And so when he was leaving, I told him I'll come and say thank you. So I came here to thank him very much for African coming to our inauguration. We know that if your brother does you a favor, the next morning you have to come and say thank you. We had elections last year in Ghana, and I was elected the president, and I sent an invitation to my brother to come and attend my investiture. And he left everything he was doing and came to the investiture. And so when he was leaving, I told him I'll come and say thank you. So I came here to thank him very much for coming to our inauguration. We've had a long discussion, and I think that we've discussed issues of mutual interest. We've discussed the issue of AES and ECOWAS, and I've got new perspectives about the concerns that the three countries have in respect of their relations with ECOWAS. And so I assured Mr. President that at the next ECOWAS meeting, I would pass on what they have explained to me to the other leaders. I think there's a breakdown of trust amongst the leadership. It will take time to rebuild it, but we have to work on it so that we restore trust and confidence with each other so that we can work together, you know, even if we are not part of the same regional body. And so we discussed that. We also discussed security. I mean, in Africa, we say when your neighbor's house is on fire, you have to help him to quench it, otherwise it will spread to your own house. This issue of terrorism started with Mali, and it spread gradually into Niger and now into Burkina Faso. And like I said, terrorism is like a cancer. If you don't fight it together, it will spread throughout the body. So how we can collaborate in terms of the fight against terrorism is another issue we discuss. But then also we discuss the issue of our economic relations in respect of trade between our people, free movement of...
That's President John Mahama there. Let's go on to the telephone now. Dr. Victor Doke is a security analyst and has been watching this particular move and also the commitment by the president to, as it were, improve on the relations Ghana has with Burkina Faso despite what is happening in that particular Sahel region. And is joining us right now. Dr. Doke, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, too, for having me.
I mean, hearing the president talk about a vow to relay Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso's concerns to ECOWAS amid the strained ties, I mean, how much of an impact will this commitment that he has made have on the current state of affairs?
Well, thank you very much. It will have some impact in the sense that, one, let's look at what the sub-regional organization ECOWAS has itself done with regards to the sanctions and then lifting them up off. Now, we know Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso have come together to form the Alliance for the Sahel. They've gone ahead. We've seen and heard about the common flag that they have, and then even talks about a common currency within these three states. So the impact of what President John Mahama is doing, visiting the countries and strengthening bilateral relations in the economic funds, the security funds, and the other areas, that is very essential to the benefit of not only these countries, but also Ghana at large. Now, his role now, as he has taken upon himself, is to lead aside visiting all these nations to gather with regards to information, the needs, interests, and wants of these countries. And then also, when it comes with regards to the opportunity of meeting the ECOWAS sub-regional heads, he can also speak on behalf of these countries with regards to these countries rescinding their decision, which may likely not happen, but then the president is willing to give it a try. That's to see how these countries can come back to the sub-regional organization and then participate in that area. So I think what our president is doing will have some impact by and large, if not attain the objective, that is to see these three countries return fully to ECOWAS. But then, one, let's look at how they can maintain the economic aspect of what trade with regards to all the ECOWAS states, and then also come to the table to formulate policies to enhance the security aspect. Because we, Ghana especially, when you talk about Burkina Faso, the proximity with regards to what is happening over there, and then ensuring that it does not spiral down to our borders, it benefits us especially. So I think there's some impact that is going to, if not for the medium term, the long term, hopefully.
I see, but then take that, what you just made, the point you just made as well, and juxtapose it with the ECOWAS leadership's position about these three countries. I mean, will the president, from where you sit, be able to make an impression on the leadership of ECOWAS to give a hearing to the concerns of these three countries?
It can happen, Alfred. Why do I say so? Now, let's look at the ECOWAS itself, the position. Having come to the realization that they may have gone to the extreme with regards to what? The extension of the sanctions, and then also with regards to their inability to what? Be proactive enough to determine or to foresee some of these takeovers, to be able to what? Prevent what? The aspect of bad governance, corruption. They have seen all these ills with regards to what? Their inability to what? Be proactive. So it gives ECOWAS some level of what? Reflection, one, and then when the opportunity comes for the meeting or whatever, the conference or whatever they will have, now what leaders like John Mahama would seek to do is to look into what has gone wrong on the part of ECOWAS itself and then the three states itself, and then come to a level ground and then conclude based on what? This, I will use very carefully the word of what? Some kind of diplomacy in that sense, to acknowledge that yes, there were mistakes that were done, there were excesses, but with regards to what? Security, we do A, B, and C. And when it comes to what? Bad governance, when it comes to every other theory that would enable takeovers, they would commit to what? Being proactive and to ensure that individual states are resilient and independent and curtail this aspect. So I think by and large, what will come out after these meetings and when the president and other presidents like John Mahama meet ECOWAS leadership, then we'll get to know the aspect of what leaders like John Mahama have picked up and then how they can convince the leadership of ECOWAS to what? Rescind on their decisions and then invite these three states to come to the negotiation table. Of course, that's why I said earlier, it may not happen that the three states would commit fully to returning back. But then, what are the essentials to ensure that trade between all these countries plus these three states still is viable? Security, which is very, very important because when you take the aspect of violent extremism, they would ensure that the aspect of security is enhanced so that you don't have isolated countries fighting it all alone, which would have consequences for other countries. So I think these two areas would determine by and large the meeting or outcome if they should meet.
Dr. Victor Doke, appreciate you for this. Thank you so much, as always, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Victor Doke is a security analyst joining us here on Hot Edition. On behalf of the rest of the team, I want to say thank you so much for joining us here on Hot Edition this morning. It's on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. Also join me at 10 p.m. for Ghana Tonight on TV3. This is going to be live on 3FM 92.7. Do have a great evening. The drive continues. And on behalf of the rest of the team, thank you for staying with us. I am Alfred Ocansey.